It's already live. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank everybody for coming here this morning. This beautiful weather, it's fabulous to be out. It's so nice after those months of snow and then rain, etc. Makes you want to go out and play somewhere. But we're glad you all stopped by here. Would you rise for a moment for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I will have a moment of prayer here. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather again with our friends and neighbors and perform our stewardship toward this wonderful nation that was born with the recognition of you as our Creator and the source of our unalienable rights. Let us rejoice in this special mission that you have granted us to protect this nation in a time of trouble. Give us the strength we need, the endurance we will require, and most importantly of all, your wisdom as we go forward in uncharted territory. Thank you, Lord. We welcome your presence with us always. Amen. All right, we do have a couple of elected officials with us this morning. Naturally, State Senator Larry Obhof, but we also have Colleen Swedick.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Colleen.
And during my brief period as a Central Committee man, it was my pleasure to be one of those that cast a vote to elect her to fill a vacancy. It's one of those roles that Central Committee people fill, and we'll be encouraging a lot of people to run for Central Committee later on in the year. It's a very important position, and there's always lots of vacancies. It's kind of like a volunteer thing. There's always plenty of work, and not always enough people to do the work. Can I see a show of hands of people that are here for the first time? Nobody here for the first time? Uh-oh. Well, we're going to have to start tapping some of our neighbors on the shoulder and inviting them to this. We're going to be building up, especially now with some of the hot items on the that are going to be on the ballot this November. This is going to be like 2010. There are very big issues, and this is going to be a prelude to what happens in 2012. Whoever wins here in 2011 is going to have the momentum and the advantage going into 2012. And if you're seeing what Obama is doing with the Environmental Protection Agency, with the labor laws, with gun control, you know that we absolutely, positively have to take back the White House in 2012. All right, I'm going to be skipping over some of the usual folderol I do for new people, but I'd like to have Jeannie Grove stand up and first of all, get a big applause. Medina has been turning in spectacular numbers with the Healthcare Freedom Amendment petition. And the unsung story is not only have we been turning in tens of thousands for Medina County, we've been turning in thousands for Summit, Stark, Lorraine, Cuyahoga, Lake, I think?
Tuscaroras.
Oh, definitely Ashland.
Don't forget Tuscaroras.
Oh,
We know how to spell it now. Yeah.
right. Yeah, we've been turning in tons of signatures, not only for our own county, but all the surrounding counties as well. So that's kind of the unsung story. Janie, you want to take a couple minutes and
Yeah, I would just like to have everybody who's worked the Ohio project in here stand up as well. Even if you circulated the petition, you know, I think, you know, I talked to somebody from Clark County who was upset about them targeting tanning salons in Medina, that was like a rain on my parade. I didn't even get a day of celebration. But anyway, I think they just saw the article I did online for Ohio Project and saw my name and my county, so that nobody's worried about that, including me. But she was very worried, and she was a coordinator for Clark County, and she had collected 4,000 signatures, and her husband had collected 3,000 signatures. They co-coordinated, so 4,000 and 3,000, and they only collected 8. They're a rural community. So I didn't live that life. I lived the life of active doers who are busy and who I sure knew sometimes were doing it because I was asking, because I was doing the same thing. So people like Frost, who took big long days twice a week, Donna, who's taken 8 to 10 forever all last year, and just the people, and Nancy, I can't even start to name names because I'm going to make a big mistake here. But number one support, Judy, you need to stand up because last year she did the schedule. She was working this before I joined the effort. She covered for me when I just went to Fort Bragg to see my kids. And, you know, I just want to say, if you want to know how to get things done, ask busy people who are caring enough to put their whole lives into trying to save this country. And that's how I see this. I think we're warriors, and the message is the job is never done. And it's really hard for me to ask people to do 2 days a week, to do any more when our numbers look so good. But those are the emails I'm getting. I just can't even ask right now. So I'm going to ask them, can't we get a buy on this? And maybe I'll promise that if we're short, we'll precinct walk all over hell and get this done. But I'd rather do that than have people overworking before fair. We had a great meeting getting ready for fair. I don't want to get into that, but I do want to say our group, just from Medina County, nowhere else, our group collected 17,920 signatures. That's far over 25%. You see it at the BMV when people go, I signed it, I signed it, I signed it. When you put in fin, feather, and fur multiple times. And we're still being asked to do that, and people are doing that. We did 2 gun shows. We've been all over the place. And that doesn't even count any of those signatures. I mean, just that little gun show we did in Cabo Falls with 360 signatures. We had 185 for Summit County there, you know. So we try to make a difference everywhere. But the most important thing to me is how much support I've had from core workers here. And as Jim says, we are the grassroots. We are the grassroots, and we can't give up. And we have to energize each other, and that's what I think we've done. So I had people like Marcia who went to We the People, who knows more than I do about what our transition is going to be, because we're going from Ohio Project to Ohioans for Healthcare Freedom. And we're going to have a big hoopla attempt to educate people why they want to opt out of this and which way they want to go on the ballot. And I got an email this morning I didn't have time to read that talked about this rollout to regional coordinators. Well, we don't have one that's working this region. So Ron's coming back on Monday. I don't know what he can do. I'm leaving to go flying fishing with my husband. So, anyway.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I know. So, in February, he said cancer. We just did a screen yesterday at the hospital. We don't know if he's okay or not, but you know, we all have to live like there's no tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I really challenged his patience. I know that. So, and I've challenged the patience of people here. So, I'm not asking anybody to do anything until we know we have to do that. I have a 2-day schedule thought, but let's just rest a little bit and re-energize to educate every darn person who walks in that fair about SB 5 and how fair it is, and what the hell's in that. sure that we have our constitutional amendments say it's harder to do something with. So that's longer than I should have talked, but bless you all.
We'd love to hear from you, Janie. You and all of our volunteers made it happen. State senators, state representatives, congressmen, they listen to us because we make things happen. We win elections. And there's an old saying, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. But if the workers know what they're doing, they just keep going and keep going and keep going until they're done. I think we're done. We're pretty close to done. So I think taking a little bit of a breather right now, I'll definitely support that. If we fall a little bit short, then yeah, we can jump back in there and collect a few more.
At the most we'll do is 2 days a week at the B&B and try to cover the 2 of the 3 fin, feather, and furs. We've done one. I had people who signed up for half a day of another. Wayne County, I have to say Wayne County's been there every time, every week that we've had it covered. We haven't been able to cover it ourselves without Wayne doing the other half of the day. So
excellent. Yeah, Medina County, Wayne County.
Kathy Ladshaw, Paul Marshall, and Dave Tabaka did that whole county alone.
Great. Appreciate that update. Okay, yeah, we did have a first meeting about the Medina County Fair this past week. Unfortunately, my initial email notice of that meeting, I didn't discover until after I'd sent out a reminder that my initial notice had never been sent. Oops. So I'm glad people are diligently reading my emails, and way down at the bottom where I was just giving a reminder, we did have enough people say, oh, we got a meeting, gotta go, and jump to it. But we did end up with a theme for our Medina County Fair, and it's called Spin versus Truth. And what we're going to do is contrast what the unions are saying about the Kasich budget, Senate Bill 5, with the truth. It's just basic public education material, and we think we're going to have as much, well, maybe we can't beat the first year when we did the read the bill petition. That was so much fun. We definitely put Bo Cherry and something on those. I'm not sure if we can be more productive than last year when we were running the petition to end the estate tax, which is now law, and to put the Healthcare Freedom Amendment on the ballot, which we just finished. But I think we will have fun and we will get something accomplished. And perhaps with a good effort, it might be the most spectacular yet. So we definitely encourage everybody to come next Wednesday evening for the second meeting to get organized and prepared for that. Let's see. We are continuing with our membership drive, and the checks are trickling in, which is pretty much as expected, and that's a good thing. We are considering putting out another survey to our members, asking for more input from our people about who they would like to see up here as guest speakers, issues they would like to see addressed. And before I go any further, the thought just flipped back in my mind. Did anybody here go to the Renaissance Town Hall in Canton? No. Okay. I've heard rumors that it was contentious. I was just wondering, I wanted to hear a little bit more about that firsthand. Maybe we can get it back out here and see what's going on in Washington. The debt ceiling is the big battle back there. And so far, our elected officials are showing pretty good resolve, as I understand it. Okay, without any further ado, I would like to introduce Larry Obhof, the state senator that everyone wants to hear. Larry got into office kind of as a dark horse to fill the seat left vacant by our previous state senator, Bob Gibbs. And he has certainly impressed me and a lot of other people with his knowledge of the law. He's immediately becoming effective. It's usual that you just kind of sit there and learn the ropes for a couple years, but Larry has become immediately effective. And I really like it when we've got a state senator that enjoys meeting with us, hearing from us, and working on our behalf. So Larry, welcome back after multiple times. We've given you the rest of the another 45 minutes where you can just tell what's on your mind and tell us what you need from us. All right.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. Jim, do I need to leave both of these on there? Okay, thanks. You'll probably have heard some of what I'm going to say today because I guess I pop in every month or so and give everyone an update. So this will be more of a longer version of that. But I'd also like to talk about where we thought we were going to be 6 months ago. I spoke to this organization the Friday night before I was sworn in. And we'll get to some of the details in a few minutes, but I think at the time I said that we had 10 to 12 major pieces of economic legislation that we plan to pass that would really fundamentally reshape the way business is done in the state of Ohio, that would change the relationship between the taxpayer and the state and the economy. And the truth is I thought it was a pretty ambitious plan, one that I wasn't really optimistic we'd be able to finish in this year or maybe even in a 2-year cycle. And we've done basically all of it already. I'm happy to say that out of the 10 to 12 bills I was talking about, I think we passed probably 9 or 10 of them now. So it's been a very busy 6 months. So I'll diverge for a minute. I actually have 2 completely unrelated speeches. And I'm going to change the order a little bit because one is about constitutional issues and about some of the things that are near and dear to the hearts of everyone in this room, and then the other was about the strides we made in Columbus in moving toward a better economy, a better future for our children and our grandchildren, and really turning the state around. And originally I think I was going to front load with the economic talk and then put everything else off till the end, but Janie has inspired me to change the order of that, hearing her talk. I mentioned when I spoke the week before I was sworn in, and I think a lot of people knew already, that I was involved in the healthcare litigation in Florida. And that was sort of a great kickoff for the last 6 months because the Florida litigation was decided by the district court in that case the day before I was sworn in. So the night before I became a senator, we found out that the Affordable Care Act, at least in the eyes of the Florida judge that was ruling over the issues presented by the 26 states and the NFIB, that the act was unconstitutional, that the mandate was not severable from the rest of the 2,700 pages and I think about 450 other laws in that bill, and I believe the judge said that it was void in its entirety. So that's on appeal, and we're still working through that, and I think what the Ohio Project has done is a good step in the right direction to help us out with that. But that was, I think, the kickoff of what has been a pretty amazing 6 months. So as I mentioned the last time I was here, some of the issues that are involved in healthcare and a lot of the problems facing our country today do revolve around the Constitution and our rights and people's understanding of what those rights are, or perhaps people in Washington's misunderstanding of what those rights are or what their responsibilities and powers are. And one of the first pieces of legislation I intended to work on was the Founding Documents Bill. It's SB 165, and my understanding is we're going to be voting on it this Wednesday. So I've mentioned that to many of the people in this room before. What we want is for people to understand who we are as a country, who we are as a people, where we came from, and why this country is different and unique and exceptional compared to all of the other countries that came before. And Jim, I believe, earlier quoted or paraphrased the Declaration of Independence. And that is one of the documents that will be incorporated into the high school curriculum. We'll be looking at the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, specifically the Bill of Rights, and the Ohio Constitution, as well as some other things, including the Federalist Papers. And we're doing that because we want people to understand American exceptionalism and to understand who we are. And the sentence that Jim paraphrased, one of the most famous sentences, I guess, in American history: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." That sentence has been described by historians as the most potent and consequential words in American history. And that's true not just because we remember them, because they're repeated often enough, but because that is a very different worldview. And that is a very different view of the role of government and the role of the people than what we've seen throughout history leading up to that moment. In almost every country throughout our world history, we see the government taking a top-down approach. Power starts at the top, and the people exercise some rights, or in more instances, I'd say probably some privileges that the government gives to them, that the government allows them to exercise. And the people who founded our country said, you know what, you've got that fundamentally backwards. That is not the proper relationship between people and the government. That people have rights that are inherent, that are God-given, that everyone has, regardless of their race or color or religion or any other factors, and that the government exercises the power that we give to them. That power starts with the people, that it's inherent in them. And the Bill of Rights really doesn't give us any rights. It doesn't grant us any rights against the government. It just reminds the government that these are already there. We can't defend ourselves because the Second Amendment allows us to. We have the inherent right of self-defense, and the Second Amendment stands as a reminder to the federal government, hey, hands off. We don't have a right to practice our religion because someone allows us to do it. We have it anyway. And the Bill of Rights tells the government, this is inherent in the people, this is not your business. And I think that people need to understand that. They need to grasp why we are who we are, why this country is different. And I think that looking at the original documents will give people a better understanding of this, a better understanding of what their rights are, where they came from, and about the proper relationship between the people and the government. And sometimes I wonder if maybe we should send a copy of the 10th Amendment to our friends in Washington. But in addition to the founding documents, I think at some point this year we will have a resolution in the legislature about the 10th Amendment, more symbolic than anything else, but reminding people that the powers that aren't given to the federal government and the powers that aren't given to the states are inherent in the people. Anyway, that's my brief speech about constitutional issues, I guess. To get on to the hard work we've done this year, I know some people...
Could you just explain why,
Sure.
so we all know and understand why the constitutional amendment part of the healthcare freedom amendment is unique and how that supports the contesting?
Absolutely. I actually happen to disagree with the Department of Justice's view on this, as you can imagine. But the Justice Department has argued repeatedly throughout the healthcare litigation that the only states with standing to file the lawsuit or to pursue the lawsuit or to get a remedy from the courts if the act is ultimately struck down are the states that have things like this. What we have argued and what we've argued successfully on behalf of the states is that as long as one person has standing, we have individual plaintiffs, we have the National Federation of Independent Businesses whose member businesses are affected by the Health Care Act, and we have 26 states, several of whom already have laws or constitutional amendments prohibiting the individual mandate. We've said as long as one of them has standing, then you hear the case for everybody. And that's the law in my view, and that's what the Supreme Court has said routinely. But the Justice Department has disagreed and has repeatedly tried to argue that somehow only the states that have a law like this or an amendment like this would have standing. So if there's 26 states involved in the lawsuit, their theory is that if only 4 of them have a statute or a constitutional amendment, then only those 4 are really allowed to be part of the case. And I think this is part of a divide and conquer strategy where if they can get 20 of the states dismissed from the case, then instead of it being a majority of the states and an overwhelming majority of the people challenging the act, it becomes a small, I think what they would try to portray it as is a small group of fringe states sort of going off on their own. And that's what they originally portrayed the lawsuit as, because I think there were 13 states when it was filed, and they said, well, look, you don't have that many. What you're doing is sort of off in left field. And now that we have a majority, they're trying to whittle the number back down. So I happen to think that they're wrong on that, but I think it's very important, and in the off chance that a court in the future might agree with the Justice Department, I think it's important that Ohio be one of the states that have a provision like this.